Hi all, this is Skate, and this is the WZ120-1G-FT. It's back, and it's in store right now, and I had to make a video on this thing. I have made a video previously where I discussed the armour in a large amount of depth, so if you're looking at this thing or you just want to kill this thing, there is another video on this channel in a bit more depth on this tank. But this thing, this little Chinese wedge, and it is a wedge because it's shaped like a little wedge, and it's just a wedge of armour. And I like to think we don't sugarcoat things here on this channel. Yes, I have a tendency to ramble on, but I like to think I don't sugarcoat it. So let's just chuck this out there. It is pay to win. There's no point sugarcoating it. It's pay to win. Some people are going to be upset with me for saying that. Some people are going to agree. It's pay to win. End of story. Now, if we were talking about the Jagdtiger 8.8, I would say, no, it's not pay to win. It's a pay to progress tank. You buy that thing, which helps you earn more credits, which helps you progress through the game. But it's also a tank which is very fun to play. But it's not OP. And it's certainly not going to give you an advantage in game, which something like a J-Panther 2 would be able to give you. Or something along those lines. This little number, though, it's rather strong, as anyone who's come across it will know. Now, I'm not saying its armor's infallible, and I'm not saying it's impossible to penetrate it. It is. But the advantage it gives you is that little bit better survivability. And that allows you to win that little bit more often. I've only just got my hands on this thing. Yes, I know. Shame on me. It's overpriced. It's ridiculous. I'm telling you it's pay to win, and I bought it anyway. I know that one's going to give me some stick as well, because I was gutted I missed out on it, and then I was gutted at the price the second time it came out, and then the third time I kind of taken this screw it, at least it's not in crates. And I've got to say apologies at this point to Meadsy, because we were talking about it, and it's like, oh man, I'm not paying that price for this. Yeah. And then he put it in the video, and even Skate said he wouldn't pay that. Yeah. Sorry, mate. Wasn't intentional, and I do feel a little bit bad for that, but I kind of don't feel bad for buying it. And I know it's a little bit overcooked, and Wargaming know it's a little bit overcooked, otherwise it wouldn't have a £50 or $50 price tag on it, which is what it has on it. And their mentality is this, it's simple as, if it was cheap, everyone would buy it, and tier 8 would be absolutely ruined, because it'd be full of these things. And then the other way to look at it then is, well, tier 7 would be ruined, the poor things, but there'd be too many of them. But the fact that you have to put a price tag on something to limit the sale of it is confirmation that something is brokenly good. I mean, from my experience, when I first got this thing, I played it a little bit too aggressively, because you know something's good, you end up maybe being a bit too confident. And with that in mind, my win rate in this thing is still 14% higher than it is in the Jagdtiger 8.8. And I don't have a bad win rate in the Jagdtiger 8.8. In fact, my win rate in this is 13% higher than all my tier 8 tank destroyers on average. And I'm pretty sure I could get that a bit higher as well, because I still don't have a huge amount of battles in this. Yes, it could go lower. I honestly don't think it's going to, though. I think it would go the other way. Because when I first got the tank, like I said, I was way overconfident. I mean, literally YOLO in head first, let's see what happens type stuff. That's how confident I am. I think, it sounds arrogant, I don't mean that in an arrogant way. That's how confident I am. I think that this is a good tank. Nothing to do with me. It's how easy this tank is to manipulate. And on top of how easy it is to manipulate, it's how easy it is to remove the weaknesses and play to the strengths of the tank. I mean, yes, it's turretless, it's not everyone's cup of tea. Turretless is right up my street. I love playing turretless tanks. But in terms of negating the weaknesses on this, I mean, it's got a very small lower plate, which makes it a small weakness anyway. But 99% of the time, if anyone hits your lower plate, it's going to penetrate. And then the front upper plate on that casement is 120mm thick, and it is very aggressively sloped. So the effective thickness on this thing is fantastic, especially when you're coming up against like tier 7s and some tier 8s, on the flat even. Now, in this circumstance, there's not really a lot that guy could have done. He can't get to my lower plate, and my front upper plate is hard. That being said, if I faced hugged him, he has gun depression, which means the closer I get to him with the angle of that tank, it weakens my armour and starts to taper it off. The best scenario for this is to hide the lower plate behind a little ridge and angle the front up and just fire. Pretty much medium range. And you're negating all the weak spots in one hit. I mean, it's got 6 degrees gun depression, which by no means is bad. Any more than that in the front armour would be insane. But medium range, hide the lower plate, point at something, off you go. There's no weak hatch on top at that point. It's incredibly difficult to penetrate in that circumstance. Yes, you cannot always do that. But in many, many circumstances you can. And on top of that, I'd say the only circumstance where this thing is really weak is when you end up driving in quick and there's a taller tank pointing down on you. Because the more tank points down on you, the weaker the effective thickness is. I mean, the biggest threat, honestly, in my opinion, on this thing is something like a T-34. Because as soon as you start to get in close to it, it can just penetrate through you. It's got fantastic penetration and it's tall. So close range, it points down on you. Something like a Borsig, I have absolutely no fear of in this tank. And that is simply because it's a low tank. And if I drive headfirst like an absolute lunatic towards something like a Borsig, I can spam HE shells at it, doing big numbers, and then ram it. You could kill it quite comfortably with 2 shots. And it's not a tall tank, so even at close range, this thing does not feel threatened by it, because at close range, the Borsig cannot get the lower hatch, and because the tank is low, it's pointing up on the front armour, which basically translates to a very nice effective thickness. That's when the frontal armour is at its absolute best case circumstance. Even in this circumstance, we've already bounced 2 shots from the FV over there, firing premium shells at us, APCR. And, well, it's fairly obvious he was aiming for the lower plate. However, thanks to the size of it, at this range, it's very hard to hit the lower plate. And because he's virtually on the same level as us, but from longer range, my effective thickness on the front is great, even when I'm not using the gun depression to fire at him. And he just hits the front upper plate and pings off. It's surprising how often it happens. The side armour as well is 80mm thick, so it means you can put some aggressive angle on it. Not too aggressive, but you can go full gun arc. You have a more than adequate 10 degrees left, 10 degrees right of gun arc. If you use the full gun arc on this thing, and use the 6 degrees of gun depression while on a ridge, I cannot think of one tank which will comfortably penetrate this thing. And then the other thing is, when you are on the flat with this thing, if you are in close, then the best circumstance may be to use the gun arc, because it adds some effective thickness to the front. In that circumstance there, you'll see I tried to reverse side scrape up against the T-54. Didn't work, because he missed, but I'm quite confident if he hit, that probably would have bounced because of the angle we were at. Now, I've spent the majority of this video talking about the armour. Here's one we don't often see thrown around in videos too much. Camo values, and it's very important for tanks like this. I mean, let's start with the Jagdtiger 8.8. Stationary has a 19% camo value and 11% on the move. This thing, 41% stationary camo value and 24% on the move. In other words, this thing has more camo on the move than a Jagdtiger does sitting still. Or another perspective, one of the best camo tanks in the game, the E25. Now the E25 has 44% stationary camo value. That's only 3 different to this. And on the move, this thing, remember, has 24, but the E25 has 26. Only 2% difference between the E25 and this. Or another one, RU251. The RU251, a light tank with 0 armour, very mobile. 31% while stationary, and 31% while on the move. So this thing, while still, has considerably better camo, and it's nearly as good as the RU while on the move. That says a lot. And on top of that, it traverses at nearly 40 degrees with its 50 km/h top speed. No, it's not even nearly, it's over 40 degrees. All that translates to, it's one hell of a formidable tank. But it is overpriced. I did buy it. I really wanted the tank. It's not in crates, at least I guaranteed 100% of the time would have got it. Although I do think the price is ridiculous. The only other negative I suppose I haven't commented on, not really a negative, but it has a low hit point pool, coming in at 1,100 hit points. Other than that, I don't see any negatives to this tank, really. If you want more on this one, like I said, I do have another WZ120-1G-FT video from a while ago. Nothing's changed in regards to the tank since then, so if you're looking for more in-depth, I'd recommend going to check that one out. But thank you all for watching, guys, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.